Okay, down on the farm, that would be the UCSC farm. I'm standing in front of, sidling up to a 53-year-old Mutsu Apple tree on a pretty vigorous dwarfing rootstock, a rootstock called M111. And somewhere back in my long ago, I vaguely remember planting this line of trees when I was a young apprentice. These trees have been vigorous and fruitful for half a century or so, and yet they have some issues of disease, bark disease. They have some issues in terms of, here is the nature of the Mutsu apple. Great apple, good for eating fresh out of hand, actually often so big you need two hands to eat them out of hand like that. Makes maybe one of the best pies you ever had. It's good for sweet, not hard, but sweet cider. Pretty utilitarian fruit, pretty reliable annual bearer. And trees in general have two natures in terms of their habit of growth. Those that are just upright, it's called acrotonic. Those that are basal, basotonic. Well, the Mutsu goes both ways. It goes straight up and it goes straight out, and you can see it throws these like telephone pole-like stiff branches, which is good because it can bear a lot of fruit. But they're just an unwieldy tree to try to shape. This tree is an example of originally trained and grown and kind of continuing on as a modified central leader. We have one tier of branches, 4 or 5 branches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in this first tier here, and then you jump up the leader a little bit and a second tier of weaker branches. What we've done this last year is done some really hard pruning on this tree. You can see some of the cuts here. Took out branches that were 3 or so inches round and just cleaned it up and simplified it, and yet there's still, as you can see, not quite in but almost in full bloom, quite a bit of flowers, which hopefully will lead to a good crop. One of the things that was happening with this tree is it was shading itself. So we were losing quality fruit and even fruit buds in general down in the interior of the tree. Well, we certainly opened it up, and we'll see what results. When you do a hard pruning like this on a tree, you can expect there to be some really vigorous regrowth. And you got to jump out there early summer and snip, snip, snip. You're going to keep a very limited amount of new growth here, because you don't want to get back to where you just came from, which is too much shade in the interior of the tree. So we'll be out here snip, snip, snipping away. But I am pleased to see big blooms, fat blooms, lots of pollen. The bees will come, the weather's good, and bodes a good crop here. So Mutsu, not a well-known apple, but an apple that's both unappreciated and unsung. You ought to grow it. All right, old friend here, grizzled, gnarled veteran. This is another Mutsu, drastically reduced. It's been going down with some bark diseases for 4 or 5 years, and all you can see now is 2 limbs going here and there like that. And it's not the most sightly thing, and won't win any geometry awards for tree form and training, all that. And yet it's got a pretty good extensive branch system that will bear a good amount of fruit, and we're just going to ride this tree down however many years it takes for it to give it up. We'll gladly accept the fruit, tend it kindly in the interim. They say fruit growing is really just harvesting sunlight. And then there's an expression, it's actually the motto of the University of California, fiat lux, let there be light. And in your growing of trees, and your shaping and your training and your pruning of trees, fiat lux, let there be light. And it's a pretty dramatic thing. Where you have light, you have big, fat, juicy fruit. And where you don't, well, the other side of the coin. You can look at this tree here. It's interesting. This side of the remainder of this tree in full sunlight, it's bumping. Got lots of expressed leaf growth and flower buds. The other side, shady side of the tree, taking a long route home to waking up here. But that's a pretty dramatic example. So just keep that in mind. You need what's called dappled sunlight in the core of your tree. That would equate to literally about 70 to 80% full sunlight. You know, if you're in really warm interior areas, yeah, you do want a little shade to protect from bark and skin burn like that. But you need a good deal of light in the core of the tree to be fruitful.